All right. So you can go anytime you want.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Anoj Subedi, a master's student at UQAT in Amos campus. I am a master's student, and my master project is supervised by Professor Miguel Montoro Girona and Professor Philippe Marchand. My project is entitled as How Does Climate Influence the Growth During Spruce Bottom Deforestation? The climate change had widespread effects on the structure and function of the forest ecosystem worldwide, and it also affects and modifies the disturbance regime of the forest. When we talk about the natural disturbances, boreal and northern temperate zones are subjected to a high range of disturbances, and one of the important disturbances in this region is spruce bottom outbreak. So what is spruce bottom? It is a lepidopteran moth. It completes its life cycle in 12 months, and during July and August, with the constant temperature and precipitation, it lays eggs, and to avoid the extreme cold temperature, it undergoes hibernation in winter and fall. So when the temperature starts to become more warmer, it comes out and it starts feeding. And during the month of June, it feeds voraciously on coniferous tree species, causing a special condition in a forest called depolation. And when the depolation extends over a larger region, it attains outbreak level. When you talk about the outbreak level, the outbreak of spruce bottom occurs in a cyclic patterns of 30 to 40 years. If we can see in the graph, here we can see with the increase in time, more recent outbreaks are becoming shorter but becoming more severe. And from this depolation and outbreaks, the major and important species affected are balsam fir, black spruce, white spruce. This means that black spruce is the secondary host for spruce bottom. However, because of its nutritive values and its distribution, it is also an important host for this spruce bottom. Thus, we aim to evaluate the impact of climate on the growth of black spruce during spruce bottom depolation in boreal and northern temperate zone of Quebec. More specifically, we aim to determine those important climatic variables that influence the growth of black spruce during the outbreak before 1960s. We hypothesize that the high range of variation in the temperature and precipitation anomalies reduce the growth for the upcoming year during outbreak period. And secondly, the temperature of the June has more influence on growth rate reduction than precipitation during the outbreak period. So this is the study area where you can see the different study sites distributed within different bioclimatic zones. This area is extend around 800,000 kilometers square in Quebec. From each of those sites, we calculated, we obtained, we compiled 18 different dendrochronological projects that were conducted in Quebec in last 3 decades. And from this, we were able to compile around 2,500 black spruce trees. Since growth is a complex phenomenon and it is the sum of the effect of age, genetic factors, microscopic factors, we had to we aim and we had to take out the effect or retain the effects of depolation and climate. And for this, we use generalized additive models as a function of basal area and age, and the residuals from this were averaged over sites to find the site level growth index. Secondly, we relied on aerial survey conducted by Ministry of Forest, and from this we calculated or we obtained the depolation level for each site for each year from 1950s, and we averaged them over the site. So for each site, we have the cumulative depolation for the last 5 years. For the climatic data, we use the special software program called BioSim, from where we interpolated the spring and summer temperature and precipitation data, as well as the June, July, and August temperature and precipitation data. Also, we calculated the climate moisture index, which is the difference of precipitation and evapotranspirations. So after having site-specific growth data, depolation data, and site-specific climatic data, we tested hypotheses using the different linear mixed models. And for selecting the best models, we use ACAT information criteria with backward selection approach. For all the models, our response variables were logarithmic basal area increment, and the predictors were the random effects of air and side plus fixed effects of cumulative depletion for the last 5 years and climatic variables as well as their interaction. This is the result of a seasonal scale model where we can see different climatic variables on y-axis and their estimated effect on x-axis. Here we can see at maximum level of severity, the growth of black spruce was reduced by 2.7%, and this effect was different depending upon the effect of climatic variable. For instance, the effect of cumulative deflation was increased by 2.1% with an increase in 1 standard deviation above average for the previous spring minimum temperature. However, it was attenuated by 1.3% with an increase in summer maximum temperature. Likewise, on monthly scale, the effect of cumulative depletion on growth led to the growth reduction of 3.3%, and it was further enhanced or increased. This growth was further reduced by 3.2% and 2% with the increase in 1 standard deviation above June temperature and June CMI respectively. The increase in the summer minimum temperature might have created a favorable window for the earlier emergence of spruce bottom larvae. On the other hand, it must have created a favorable environment where the bud break in black spruce happened earlier. These both circumstances led to increase in defoliation, causing the growth reduction in black spruce. However, the increase in the maximum summer temperature led to decrease in defoliation because it must have created, it must have been detrimental to the survival of spruce bottom larvae, and during which there must have been a growth release in black spruce. On the other hand, on monthly scale, since June is important month on the phenology of spruce bottom, and it has been shown that with 1 degree centigrade increase in temperature, the bud break in spruce bottom happens 4 to 5 days earlier. This means there must have been more foliage or more opportunity for spruce bottom to feed on black spruce. On the other hand, the appropriate moisture contents must have provided more nutritive supports for the eggs of spruce bottom, which lastly enhance the survivability of winter sleeping larvae, leading the higher survival rate with the increase in population, which at the end led to increase in defoliation, and that reduced the growth of black spruce. Hence, we concluded that during the outbreak period, the growth of black spruce was influenced by different climatic variables like temperature and the climate moisture index, including the precipitation. The climate of summer interfere higher than any other climatic variables. More specifically, the increase in summer minimum temperature favored the defoliation. That means that lead to the decrease in growth during spruce bottom outbreak. Thus, the positive effect of temperature on the growth of black spruce might be limited or controlled when this period matches with the larval emergence period. Thus, this project helps or aid in the sustainable forest management by predicting different vulnerable stands within the range of spruce bottom. Thus, we suggest in continuing or developing different researches for reconstructing the models in the past to make different projections based on different scenario for the future. These are the references used, and I would like to acknowledge all the helping hands for this project and all the collaborators. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup.